So you can see the Christmas tree off there in the background, but the fact of the matter is I'm not feeling particularly Christmassy today. You see, just a few days ago, we learned that the United States Congress has passed and authorized the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012. It's a yearly budget bill primarily that funds the United States military. It's bad enough what's included within this bill because, frankly, the amount of money that we're spending on wars and a war machine that rages all across this world has gotten incredibly out of control. But more disturbing, in fact most disturbing, is Section 1031 of this bill. It's now known as the Indefinite Detention of Americans Act, and lest you think that this is some overblown hyperbole of the internet, I encourage everyone to seek out the internet, just Google those search terms NDAA and 1031, and have a read on precisely what is included in this bill. The fact of the matter is that according to this new legislation, habeas corpus is effectively suspended in the United States of America. Habeas corpus were constitutional provisions and protections placed in there by our forefathers that guaranteed Americans the right to counsel and liberty and guaranteed us the right to be brought before a tribunal before we were hauled into prison. That, along with many other aspects of the United States Constitution, have been effectively suspended. Now, it's ironic that this bill was signed in by Congress on the very day that we chose to celebrate and recognize the Bill of Rights. So, in fact, this most disturbing violation and destruction of our constitutional rights was voted in on the same day that we recognized the Bill of Rights. Now, I don't expect that the moment the President signs this bill into law, the police and the Army will start rounding up citizens or people like me. At least overnight. But certainly there is a reason behind the passage of the act. And make no mistake about it, I think any American says that we shouldn't allow terrorists to run free in this country and we want to have the resources necessary to attack and get those terrorists. The fact of the matter is, however, and the major problem with this bill is the broad expanse of it and that it can target any American citizen, particularly citizens that they label domestic belligerents. And there can be no question that a person like me who posts videos like this and has a blog like I run would be deemed a domestic belligerent. And certainly if you read some of my writings, you'll see that I've become more and more belligerent over the last several weeks and months. The fact of the matter is that by watching this video and conceivably sharing my ideas, you too could be labeled a domestic belligerent. But again, what's most disturbing about this, in addition to what we see in the bill right now, is where legislation like this is taking us. When you combine this new legislation with what we already see happening all across the country, and specifically I'm talking about the banks kicking down the doors of people's property anytime they care to, sometimes throwing their things out into the street, but nevertheless, the pattern and practice of the banks and institutions kicking down the doors of people's properties whenever they care to and suffering no punishment or consequence. What we are seeing dead in front of us right now is the absolute desecration and destruction of the United States of America and the country that formerly lived free. If you still subscribe to the notion that the United States of America remains a free country and that you have liberty and that you have protections provided to you by the United States Constitution, you're living in a dream world, a naive and very dangerous fantasy it is that you continue to entertain. One of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers right now is the number of people, millions of Americans, that will stay glued to their television, watching football, watching Dancing with the Stars and all this other nonsense, and yet the vast majority of Americans have absolutely no idea what's happening right in front of them, and specifically with acts like this. I have emails from people around the world asking me, do people have any idea what's occurring in the country and what's wrong with America? And I tell them, quite frankly, I just don't know. People also ask, what can I do? Well, folks, you can reach out to your friends, your neighbors, your Facebook people. Stop with all those nonsense Facebook posts about holiday cookies and your kids' dance recital and whatever nonsense it is that you're engaging in today, and make those Facebook pages light up with posts and protest about the desecration of the United States of America and the United States Constitution. Let me promise you one thing, folks. This is not the end, and this is not just the beginning of these protests and the desecration of our rights. This is the middle. And the folks that have stopped paying attention are the ones that are going to regret this the most. I feel like I've done my small part, although I know it's not enough. But we do know for certain, and that is that for the millions of Americans out there who are utterly unaware, there's going to come a time when either you for yourself or you on behalf of your children are going to gravely regret that you didn't take a moment to get involved and start spreading the word and protest about what is occurring in this country. This is a holiday season. We have many things to be thankful for, but we also have very, very many things to be absolutely terrified of. And you need to do your part by reaching out there to all of America, sharing this video, pointing to things like the National Defense Authorization Act in Section 1031, forcing other people to go out there and force and search those terms out and rise up in protest. You've got a very short, limited amount of time. There's not much time for us to regain this country that we've lost, that's been stolen from us by the banks, the institutions, the corrupt politicians. And I fear desperately that if everybody doesn't wake up and do something now, it will be too late.